If I may paraphrase the Great Reset, when I say you will own nothing and you will be happy, that's what they're trying to do to the president right now. They're trying to take away everything that he's worked for, everything that he's been afforded due to public office, and everything that he could ever obtain in the future. And if literally everybody can do that to the most powerful man in the world, it'll eventually make its way down to you and I. Sorry to start on a downer, but first we're going to go through, well, this one just hurts Trump, obviously. Like, from a business perspective, yeah, it would have been nice to have a PGA Tour event at one of his golf courses, but at the same time, everybody knows he loves himself some golf. I don't know how many PGA caliber courses that he has, but up there with like Russian women and self-tanner, there is nothing Trump loves more than golf. So this one just hurts. It's like the only thing that I can equate it to is if like all the gyms closed down and I wasn't allowed to go for like the better part of a year. Oh. The Professional Golfers Association has decided to move forward with a plan to strip the Trump National Golf Course at Bedminster of its 2022 PGA Championship. The fact is, they already planned it to be there. They had the Wanamaker Trophy show up there at the end of 2020, September 24th, when they had a tweet posted. I'm not even sure if that account's allowed to be there anymore because they're just running through everything that has the Trump brand on it and getting rid of it at the moment. But yeah, this wasn't even a political thing. This was something that was signed, sealed, delivered beforehand, well before the election. But all of a sudden, oh, my broken windows, and we'll get into that in the next video, because I want to keep this one, I don't know, I guess Trump-centric, and the other one's going to be like arrests and aftermath-centric. So let's wrap this one up. The odds of the 2022 PGA Championship will happen as scheduled in New Jersey are about as good as the chances of you or I winning at Golf Week's Eamon Lynch wrote on Saturday. Moving its major from Trump National has been debated internally at the PGA for more than 2 years. I could understand that if you don't want to put it at someplace political, but at the same time, Trump has distanced himself. That was even after he won election in 2016. Everything was being put off into a trust, and I'm pretty sure Eric is running everything that has to do with the Trump name and Trump brand, but it really doesn't much matter because if you've got the mark of the orange on you anywhere, you're, I don't know, marked for execution? Being too hyperbolic? Oh, that's alright. I have a D at the beginning of my name, so I should be fine, right? Anywho, but executives have been reluctant to antagonize a famously vindictive man who controls the Internal Revenue Service. Oh, fucking projection, my friend. Who actually weaponized the IRS? That would be the boss of the guy who's going to take over on the 20th. Such concerns melt away in 10 days, if not sooner. Bedminster, located in New Jersey, has been called the Summer White House due to the president's regular visits there. In September, Trump Bedminster proudly trumpeted the planned event. Obviously, it's a big thing. That isn't like, you know, some shitty little pro-am. That's the PGA Championship. That would have been a huge revenue earner. And yeah, like we said before, Trump is a huge golf fan, okay? So that's just another one of those kick him while he's down. But if we really want to start look at how the public sector is reacting, okay, you expected Twitter, Facebook, and all the social media firms to just kind of wipe Trump from their presence. We were all kind of expecting that either at the end of his second term or when it became obvious that all the contestations were falling on deaf ears, that the purge was just coming. We just didn't know when. And then thanks to that AstroTurfed riot that happened last Wednesday, Jesus, we're coming up on a week now. Seems like it's been a while. Everything's just been pushed ahead quite expeditiously. And you expected that from those platforms, right? You expected that to happen. That's just kind of what they do. But the growing list of other private entities is getting staggering and frightening. We got to use the New York Times unironically because they actually have a good list of all the companies that have distanced themselves from President Trump, or at least how they're accurately saying this. A growing number of companies and institutions have taken action against a formal attack against Trump and his associates in this deadly rampage. Oh yeah. Just keep trying to make it seem worse than it actually was. At the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday by president's supporters. Yes, technology platforms, we need not go back over that. But one I don't know if I've formally covered, but I'll glance over everything else here. But this one is, I don't know, it's just stupid. And it's just a personal attack, really. The online payment platform Stripe will no longer process payments for Mr. Trump's campaign website. President Trump, still you assholes. The Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday. The newspaper, citing people familiar with the matter, said the e-commerce company has cited violations of its user policy. Terms of service, user policy, those are becoming a lot more powerful than the United States Constitution. Prove me wrong. Which bars users from promoting violence on its platform. How does a payment processor allow for people to call for violence on their platform? And you notice how they're not the mainstream media, this is not running any actual clips from Trump's speech that he gave at the Ellipse last Wednesday? Yeah, because there was nothing violent about what he said, plain and simple. That's just the big cabal of big tech, mainstream media, and the Democrats just scrubbing away recent history. And as we've seen time and time again, they'll gaslight you in the present and then just keep getting rid of history. There is no end to the purity spiral. PGA of America, we just covered that. Financial institutions. I can't think of any legitimate reasons why they would do this. I don't get this one. This one is baffling, and this is one, the first time that I read it. Everything else, like I said before, it just kind of made sense. This is what they've done. Even like Stripe has backed away before, but that's all online. Whatever. You don't need to have an online presence to be a fully formed human being. That's becoming even more evident in the past few years, but this has real world consequence. Okay, according to the New York Times, I almost said Financial Times because I rarely ever use the New York Times. Citigroup, which gave $1,000 in 2019 for the campaign of Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, who's next on the list. I don't know when we'll get to this, but just so you guys know, Democrats are calling for Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz to be put on no-fly lists too. Yeah, They don't know when to stop. And also Citigroup gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to Democrats, by the way. So it's kind of funny that they'll just say, oh, they gave $1,000 to Josh Hawley. Yeah, but how about your CEOs and your other affiliated companies dumping money into the Democratic coffers? Don't like to bring that one up, do you? Yeah, but Citigroup says to have paused all campaign contributions until March. Oh, good. They're just really standing up for things. We want to be assured that we will not support candidates who did not respect the rule of law. Orwellian. This is Orwellian. Nothing that Josh Hawley did broke the rule of law. Look at the Constitution. Look at the Electoral Count Act. It's all there. It's all vaguely worded, but what they did was not illegal. Sorry if all these videos are starting to sound the same, but for fuck's sakes. You have Joe Biden comparing Hawley and Cruz to Goebbels by reciting the big lie over and over again. You just keep letting these important people repeat the same lines of, oh, this was a violent terrorist attack. This was against the rule of law. You're undermining our democracy by challenging our democracy, which means if you are dissenting against the government, you have no rights and you will be depersoned. It's terrible. It's really terrible. JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and Bank of America said they are suspending donations through their PACs. Wonder if that's just to one side of the aisle. We'll see. Morgan Stanley said it suspended contributions to members of the Congress who voted against certifying... Oh, okay, so at least they're just being open about their hypocrisy. Who voted against certifying the results of the election, but has not suspended contributions across the board. There you go. Just keep an eye on JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and Bank of America. And here's the Trump-specific ones. Deutsche Bank, which has been Trump's primary lender for 2 decades, and Signature Bank are also seeking to distance him from his business. They're doing more than distancing, okay? They're closing his accounts. They are no longer extending lines of credit to a man who's been a billionaire for, Christ, I don't even know how long as I've been alive. For what reasons? For what reasons? Deutsche Bank has decided not to do business with Trump or his company in the future, according to a person familiar with the bank's thinking. Oh, okay, their hive mind mentality. I understand. Visa last week temporarily suspended all political contributions through its PAC. Yeah, where do you think most of this money goes? American Express and MasterCard said they would no longer give political contributions to politicians who had tried to block. So yeah, they're just, oh my God, being partisans. And yet, Joe Biden, I was listening to another commentary track over the first couple of debates, and it's hilarious. It really is. Not how pathetic my evenings and mornings are, but how Joe Biden tried to paint himself as being the working class candidate when, as you can see here, who are rebelling against Trump Hawley and Cruz right now, because they're the three that are on the chopping block right now. I don't think Hawley and Cruz are going to have a GOP political life going forward, at least not right now. I think they're going to be forced out of there because it's relentless right now going on. The list of other companies that's on here is frightening, but I just wanted to highlight the banks because that is going above and beyond. Because yeah, okay, you get banned off Twitter, fine, there's 3 or 4 different alternatives and you pick one and then that one gets taken offline. We went through that entire process a couple days ago and that's fine. I don't need to continue there. And realistically, it's not the end of the world if you can't just, I don't know, put a couple of words out there. A few of them are in block letters and who gives a shit. But when they start fucking with your money just because they don't agree with you politically, or they're using skewed logic in order to sway what kind of business can be done with an individual, and that's what this is. This is a political attack based on falsities. Nobody endorses the violence that happened at the Capitol, okay? And it's being used to run cover over the fact that there were some legitimate concerns leading up to that date. A lot of numbers weren't matching up, and that has just gone away. And now it's defending yourself against attacks from public figures, private corporations, big tech, the media. They don't know where to stop. And it's all built on lies, honestly. Trump did not incite any sort of violence that happened at the Capitol. We're still getting fed information daily as to what the fuck the fallout has actually been there. But who still gets the megaphone at the end of this? Old thick-ankle dogface herself. The embodiment of the swamp. I think if you pull everything back at the Democratic Party, she is still there at the top pulling all the strings. Now I could pull up the same kind of article from the right, or whatever the fuck you'd call the McCains right now, and you can see that right there. Yeah, Ivanka and Jared need to be held accountable for the Capitol attack according to the fucking inflated daughter of that traitor John McCain. What exactly did Ivanka and Jared do? No. Oh, right. They're affiliated with the president. That's why. And he said some mean things about your brain tumor on 2 legs you called a father. But they wouldn't have said anything bad about your mother. Leave that up to your father to do. The lionizing of that old fucking warhawk is some of the most disgusting shit I've seen. And the fact that he's getting painted as a hero right now makes me fucking livid. But I'll get this off the middle of this page right now because it's probably just as disgusting for most. Impeaching Trump, not enough to remove white supremacy from America. 2 things. He's not going to get impeached. You can fuck off right now. It takes a supermajority in the Senate, and it would literally be the dumbest fucking thing that could possibly happen right now. And for the last article, we're going to circle back around to the New York Times because I think they're full of shit on this one, but I need to point it out as well because I gave them props for their compilation of the different firms that are dehumanizing people, and then we gotta, circle back and let them know about their journalism integrity. And 2, how does getting rid of one person from public life destroy an incredibly fringe ideology? This goes to show you that they are all about submission and the hive mind mentality. They don't want anybody to have a dissenting opinion to them. That's why they're always saying our democracy. If you go up against us, you are going against our rights and freedoms. This is also not the action of a party that thinks that they won legitimately, because they're trying to shut off every single leaky valve, trying to weather strip every little door that could possibly let another breeze in. This right now is a party of weakness, and they are just trying to force as much shit through as humanly possible. But let's see what the Crypt Keeper had to say. In an editorial published by the Washington Post on Monday entitled "Trump Should Be Impeached, but That Alone Won't Remove White Supremacy from America." No, because one of the biggest white supremacists, or at least his rhetoric is, will be taking over that office chair in the Oval Office on the 20th. Something racial jungle, something buses. I can't remember. But maybe that speaks against the school system, because what I could remember is poor kids are just as smart as white kids. It's tough to keep the facts straight. You don't have to. We're moving into a post-fact society. Failed presidential candidate Hilary Clinton described last Wednesday's attack on the Capitol as a function of white supremacist grievances fueled by Donald Trump. Of course. Why does she keep getting a platform to spew her unadulterated hatred? That is literally all she's done for the past 4 years. Clinton repeated the false claim that the president, Donald Trump, praised neo-Nazis as very fine people following the 2017 riots at Charlottesville, Virginia. She framed whiteness as a term that she did not define. She framed whiteness, a term that she did not define, as the president's political priority. What? Holy fuck. And this will be taught in schools under the reinstituted critical race theory projects as being something that was so brave and so important to say. Trump ran for president on a vision of America where whiteness is valued at the expense of everything else. I wonder who she plagiarized this from. In the White House, he gave white supremacists, members of the extreme right, and conspiracy theorists their most powerful platforms yet, and claiming that there were very fine people among the torch-wielding militia members who converged in Charlottesville in 2017. That is a word salad, the likes of which team of psychologists to parse through. That is a stunning paragraph. But fuck, she calls for impeachment. Something that is functionally retarded at this point. We already seen how it can't get through the Senate before the end of Trump's term, and setting the precedent of impeaching somebody who's no longer in office is very dangerous because what, you just continue to go back through history and impeach everybody who's no longer in office just because the new party coming in is different than the old one? Like, what are we doing here? And then, yeah, like we've seen the Senate's not even supposed to hear it until I think it was the 22nd or the 29th. Days after inauguration anyways. But then, like I said, we got to hop over to the New York Times because McConnell is said to be pleased about impeachment, believing it will be easier to purge Trump from the GOP. Like I said, this is the New York Times after all, so you gotta, I don't know, take that bit of information and just drape it over everything that we're about to go through. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the Republican leader, so I guess House Minority Leader, is that fair? They both have 50 seats, whatever, has told associates that he believes, he's told associates and anonymous sources told the New York Times, cool, that he believes President Trump committed impeachable offenses. How? Like which ones? Care to cite your sources, Mitch? And that he is pleased that Democrats are moving to impeach him, believing it will make it easier to purge him from the party, according to people familiar with the thinking. Now, this is what they're doing here, okay? We've heard reports that Republicans, high-ranking Republican officials, the people that you wouldn't normally like to vote for anyways because they're just a different wing of the Democratic Party, controlled opposition, George W. Bush types, that they think that their ideology will succeed farther into the future than a populist movement. The only reason you have as many new House members and that more senators didn't lose their seats in this past election is because of the populist movement. Why did you think 300,000 fewer people voted in those Georgia elections? Do you think it's because you guys are really on the right track there? Morons. The House is voting on Wednesday to formally charge Mr. Trump with inciting violence against the country. I will love to see what they're going to present as evidence. They're just going to play his speech and everybody's just going to be like, yeah, what? We're going to go to the Capitol. I'll be there with you and we want our voices heard. Okay, and they truly are as stupid as they look. But the rest is just hearsay and conjecture, and the only reason that it has any sort of lasting effect, anything that could potentially be latched onto by the mainstream, is because, well, A, it's the New York Times and anything that they print is fucking gospel to the Ministry of Truth. But rather, it's fairly easy to believe that Mitch McConnell would definitely be behind the impeachment. Okay, when was the last time he said anything positive about Trump? Months? Weeks? Years ago? So they'll just use that. Nobody takes Mitch McConnell seriously, okay? I think maybe his family are the last few people that like him. So I'm sure if it went on Twitter right now, this is probably trending right at the top there. Oh, even Mitch McConnell wants Donald Trump impeached, even though the Senate's not going to be hearing anything unless they get a 100% positive vote to hold an additional hearing on impeachment. Unfucking likely, but that's what we have here. So if that happens, I said that I'd give it a little bit of a chance. It might happen. I still don't think this happens, and I still don't think the New York Times is a reputable source for information. But they did compile a good list of the companies that are distancing themselves from their political adversaries in a very dangerous move of the future. Hilary Clinton is still full of fucking hot air, and sports is lost for the next few decades. It sucks, because I used to be a big sports fan, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. There's decades of old footage I still haven't watched back when sports was tolerable and movies were actually worth seeing. But with that said, guys, we got some more stuff involving actual arrests at the Capitol and the aftermath of those arrests too. It's not fun, but it's important to document. Thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.